in the Army. His name was Joseph Mekovich. He was the one who provided the psychological profile on LaVena. And when people asked him, you weren't the psychologist for that area, why did you do that? He told her, they told him that LaVena sat and ate a whole gallon of ice cream, and he felt that was grounds for suicide. So he was Captain Mike. Yeah, he did that. Ed Reedy was the medical examiner at Fort Dover Air Force Base who was supposed to have done the autopsy. He didn't do the autopsy. They did the autopsy at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, not at Dover Air Force Base, but he put his name on the autopsy. This is how I know he didn't see LaVena's body. He called me in August, and it was on August the 9th, I think August the 13th. I had already buried my daughter and everything else. So he calls me up, and he says, I'm the medical examiner that did the autopsy on your daughter. I said, okay, what can you tell me? He said, I said, I just got through inspecting the body. She got a bullet hole on the left side of her head. She's right-handed. He just explained to me how that happened. He said, your daughter stuck her M16 rifle in her mouth and shot herself. And I said, oh, come on, man. I said, did you know I was a veteran? We know that's a lie. Yeah. I said, did you know I was a veteran? And he said, no, I didn't. So I'm familiar with the M16 rifle, and if she just stuck it in her mouth, which I doubt at 5'1", she would have blown a huge blowout in the back of her head. He said she did. I said, wait a minute. She did what? He said there was a blowout in the back of her head. I said, I told you I looked at my daughter's body, and I saw a bullet hole on the left side of her head, and she's right-handed. He said it depends on the angle you're looking at.
Oh, no. Yeah. So he's part of the cover-up, obviously.
So he's part of it.
Yeah, definitely a cover-up.
Yep.
Oh, my God, yeah. Lucinda, questions or comments for Dr. Johnson?
I am just baffled and saddened by your story, and I am incredibly sorry that you and your family have to experience this and go through this and continue to hear and have heard some of the lies and the stories that people continue to tell you. So I just can't imagine, and I am incredibly sorry for any of this that you've experienced and continue to experience. The only question I have is, and at this point, I don't know if there's even an answer to that, but where do you go from here with knowing the information that you have and trying to fight the injustice and the lies that you're experiencing? Where do you go from here? I think that's the only thing that I'm curious about. And again, I'm just baffled by the story and completely saddened by the story.
We have some people that have contacted us, and I'm not going to say too much, but we're going to do, have you ever watched these crime series on TV where they have the actors and all that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've gotten contacted, and we're getting ready to. That's our next project. Would
that be like a reenactment?
It's not going to come clean.
Right.
My posture is I have to keep fighting and putting it out there. If they don't care, my attitude is, hey, I'm going to do what I have to do.
Right.
And you have to, Dr. Johnson. You've got to. And I think that this is certainly time for you guys to continue, with this great fight and waking the sleeping giant. You got to bring the fight to the sleeping giant, and it's unfortunate that LaVena is not the only person that has had to have suffered in this same manner. I remember when I interviewed you 5 years ago, we actually talked about other family members that were also affected, rape, murder, cover-ups, and it's just horrible to hear these stories of these young women that are putting their lives on the line, literally, for America, right? For the American people, for them to be treated as such, worse than animals. It's heart-wrenching.
Worse than dead animals.
Worse than dead animals.
So, Dr. Johnson, I have a question. I'm very strongly against the military action. I know that it has been a means for a lot of people to get through school and get financial benefits. But I also know that what happened to your daughter is a lot of what American soldiers are perpetrating on people abroad, which creates the enraged state that many are expressing to Americans. And the average American doesn't know that this is what the soldiers are doing, that they are raping and murdering people in these countries and creating anger and hatred. So what would you advise for somebody who is, particularly a woman who is looking to go into the military, knowing that rape is rampant and suppressed, and a woman may encounter this and not get any kind of support from office? As a matter of fact, she would be silenced. What would you advise a woman that was considering a career in the military based on the fact that we haven't cleaned up this mess that exists within the military? What are your thoughts on that?
I've got a lot of people that have asked me that question about their own daughters, and this is the advice that I give them. You have to understand that the good old boys are operating in old school. You're in an era now where communications are so quick. I would think twice before I go in any organization where the good old boys are in charge and they see you not as a soldier, not as a female soldier, but a sex object. Because when you start talking about 1 out of every 3 females getting raped, 1 out of every males getting raped, that's horrific. So if I knew what I know now, I didn't want to be negative to my daughter's decision making because she was a good young lady. But I would have, I would have done some research, find out what the statistics look like, and then you have to figure out in those statistics where do you think your daughter will fall. And then it's not a bad career. They make some good money. But you got to get past them sexual people in there. They think that they have a right because they're white males particularly, that they can have anybody they want to. After LaVena got raped and murdered, all kinds of stories came up where women didn't say anything. So now my daughter's dead and here they come. In fact, we got a couple of group of white females right now. My wife and me took the Tillman family tried to warn us that we had a problem in the military. We didn't hear that. We had to come along and back them up with what happened to our daughter. So now you got a bunch of white female social groups or whatever they call themselves, and now they're speaking up on corporate executives and all this other stuff. But until we fought, but they getting credit for it. If I was a white male, there are 2 things that would be happening. Number one, everybody and their mama would be jumping on our story if LaVena was blonde hair and blue eyes. If I was a white, and I happened to be smart enough to do 2 things: read and write, and put together an investigation team. And you don't give me no credit. I'd be getting a Nobel Peace Prize if I was white. But that's just the way it is. So that's what I tell them. Do your homework.
You have just as much power, though. You have the power of any white and beyond because, as you said, communication is instant. We're talking on worldwide radio. You have allies that you are making right now with you telling this story. And as you've just said, a lot of white women who've been silently taking abuse are now stepping up and speaking up. And there are going to be many others around the world who rally around you because you are fighting back and you do have the intelligence to put together the investigation. And you name some names. And that's important, too, because we're holding these people accountable for covering up this crime. And eventually, somebody's going to jail. There's going to be a lot of people going to jail. Because
there is no...
away, and there are enough people who want to make sure this doesn't go away because people are still in the military, and who knows how many others they've assaulted.
And there's no statute of limitations on murder. Real quick, Dr. Johnson and Mrs. Linda Johnson have created a scholarship fund to honor their daughter. Donations can be made to the LaVena. Go ahead, Doc. Say it again.
They cut it off. The state cut it off.
Are you serious?
What?
Wow.
Well, we'll find a way to cut it back on.
That. Yeah, we don't have to cut that back on, Doc. State stopped you from accepting scholarship funds to honor LaVena Johnson.
That is correct.
When
and there's something else.
What was the reasoning they gave behind that?
They claim they lost the paperwork that I sent to them twice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we were at an award ceremony, and we met a young couple, a family. Their daughter, and I want to say her name is Amanda Blake. I know her first name was Amanda. They named some kind of monument or whatever at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, in this young lady's honor, saying she was the first female in the military from Missouri to get killed in Iraq and Afghan, and that is not true. LaVena Johnson was the first one, so she can't even get credit for that.
They have just tried to do all types of cover-ups and scams and schemes. We got one other person I want to bring on the phone line, Mr. Warren Houston. I'll be coming to you in just a few moments. Warren, we got a caller that has been on for a little while. Area code 512, I'm coming to you now. Just tell us your name, where you're calling from, and if you have a brief question for myself or Dr. Johnson. 1 second. Area code 512, your phone line is open. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You had a question or comment? Phone ended in 0198. Question or comment?
Oh, no, I was just listening. Yes, I just want to send my condolences to the family. And I remember reading about this on Facebook or seeing it somewhere. And the moment that I saw it, I just felt my heart tell me that she was murdered, because I am very connected with my Lord Jesus Christ, and I have that gift that God tells me, and I just knew immediately that she had been killed, murdered. That's what my heart told me.
Thank you. What's your name?
Diana Dalton.
Oh,
I'm
hey,
Sophia.
Diana, how are you? Thanks.
Yes.
I'm sorry, say that one more time. You're Sophia's what? I didn't hear you.
Welcome to the King Yah podcast. As you may have guessed, I am your host, King Yah, a father, activist, and professional speaker. On this podcast, we discuss relationships, criminal justice, news and politics, Black history, culture, and domestic violence awareness. If this is your first time being here, I want to say thank you and encourage you to keep listening. Each week you can expect to hear thought-provoking interviews, as well as personal relationship tips that will help enhance your life. You will have access to resourceful downloads that you can implement daily to become more productive. Thank you for spending some time with me today. Follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, KingYah2020. My podcasts are also available on iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Anchor, TuneIn, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. just look for King Ya.